Dr. Lyman Montgomery. My name is Daphne Taylor Street, and I am here with my good friend Lyman, and we are talking about a venture that Lyman realized is critical in the corporate business space. And we're launching this thing, and we want to tell you a little bit about it. So, Lyman, first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, thank you, first of all, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you, Daphne. As you mentioned, my name is Dr. Lyman Montgomery, and originally from Dayton, Ohio, currently residing in Indiana. But to be honest, I live pretty much all over the world. I have a business that affords me to travel as long as there's an internet connection. But a little bit about me is I grew up in a neighborhood that was full of love, full of seeing people go to work, blue collar neighborhoods, middle class neighborhood. But what we didn't see was a lot of people that were entrepreneurs, people that owned their own business. They went and got a job or worked for someone. And I grew up like a lot of people hearing, go to school, make good grades so you can get a good job, preferably a government job. And so I did that. I, graduated with honors, went to college, graduated, went to graduate school, graduated, went on, pursued, got 2 master's degrees, and went ahead and got my doctorate in an area dealing with engagement. And so my PhD is actually in focused engagement. And the reason that I decided to pursue a doctorate in focused engagement dealing with organizational leadership is that as I worked in corporate America, I saw so many employees disengaged. They're sort of looking at the clock, counting the hours go by, and very little productivity. I also noticed that managers and supervisors struggling to figure out, how do I get my employees engaged? And so after a number of years of being in corporate America, working in academia, and then launching my own very successful consulting and coaching business, that stuck with me. How do you get employees engaged? First of all, how do you get their supervisors engaged, re-engaged? And that's what led to the concept of Engage Me. The Engage Me, what we call the Engage Me Business Suite, which is comprised of 3 coaching programs: executive coaching, managerial coaching, and then line staff coaching. And what I'm excited about in this endeavor, the Engage Me Business Suite, is that it is a holistic approach to not only reverse those individuals that are suffering from disengagement, but also burnout. And I'm really excited about this. And it will work in any industry. We're targeting the healthcare industry because of the pandemic. If you look in the news, that is one of the sectors that has been hit hard. They are tired, they're frustrated, and they're burning both ends of the candle. One person, even the middle now. And they're really struggling with, how do I continue to deal with death day by day and still come to work with a sense of hope when it appears to be a hopeless situation. And so we believe strongly that the engagement business suite will address some of those critical concerns that lead to employee burnout, lack of supervision, and how to supervise and manage those that may be suffering from burnout. And the third part of that is, how do we, if you're on the business side, how do we re-engage our employees, but also how do we re-engage our customers? And so we have Engage Me Upward, which is executive C-level suite management. It's about vision. It's about, how do you transfer the vision, the mission, the guiding principles that it permeates throughout your organization? And then Engage Me Forward is about allowing and coaching manager to have a forward-facing approach to dealing with problems, dealing with employees, rather than retreating back to what used to work, but is forward thinking, forward way of delivering content in a way that the employees are re-engaged. And then the employee part is the engage me back, where we pull them back into the organization where they feel excited. Because let's face it, no one hired into an organization with the idea of burning out, or as my friend called it, burning up. Because a lot of times people either burn out, but more commonly, we just burn up employees.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes,
One of the things that most of us in business, especially in large corporations, are fully aware is one of the most expensive things is hiring and training employees. And also, therefore, one of the most expensive ways to bleed out money is to have high employee turnover. And
yes,
your program addresses two types of employees specifically. One is the employee who is on their way out. They're no longer engaged. You can sense that they have a foot out the door. In HR terms, they're probably in the coaching phase of that disciplinary structure. But then you have the rock star employees, the ones that are real shooting stars, and you can sense that they have a foot out the door too. They're looking for a brighter opportunity, and you want to retain these as an
yes.
employer. You want to build them up and advance them in your culture. So tell me a little bit about those two different types of programs you offer.
Yes, as earlier I mentioned, those who either burn out or we burn them up. And what I mean by that is all of us have a limited supply of energy. It's called your energy tank. And when we start a new job, just think about when you started a new career, a new job, a new organization, maybe a new supervisor. If you transferred, you're excited, your energy tank is high, you're eager to work. And over time, you start making a withdrawal. Think of it as a bank account. If you're not putting deposits back into that account, over time, you will end up with insufficient funds. It's what I call insufficient focus, insufficient energy, to where basically you are now being taxed with overdrawn fees. And we know what happens when we start getting those overdrawn fees, a snowball, because people are still making a demand. And so it seems like the little bit of money or a little bit of energy that I do have is getting sucked out of me till finally the account is closed due to insufficient funds. And that's what happened mentally to employees on one end who become what Gallup calls actively disengaged. Is so many withdrawals have been made to where they are near depletion of that energy tank, to where they're like, I need to close out this account. So that's the one side of those that are actively disengaged because there are so many demands placed on that individual that they feel like it's hopeless. Why stay in this powder keg that could blow at any moment? It's time for me to exit stage left. On the opposite side, you have those individuals that are still engaged, they believe in the company, and the company keeps going to them saying, I know you're on 3 committees, but could you take over a 4th committee? I know you were supposed to leave at 5 o'clock, but I really need your help. And you as an employee is saying, gee, I love my job, but I got to get a break. Do you realize that there are certain employees that have literally been working 12-hour days for the last year, working on weekends? And by the time they go home, they are so depleted, all they can do is collapse. So now they become disengaged from their family, disengaged from their friends, disengaged from their spiritual communities, and they're literally running on autopilot. And we're burning them up because we keep going back to the same people. Think of it like this. It's called the Pareto Rule. And what the Pareto Rule simply says is 20% provides for 80% of any action. 20% of all sales, 20% of the sales force generates 80% of profits. 20% of your problems account for 80%. And so what happens is there's a small cauldron of people that are like, yes, I raised my hand to work here. But if you keep going to those individuals, you keep pulling and making a demand on them without allowing them to replenish, to take a break, to have a breather, you will burn them up. And so that's why we say you have those that have burned out and those that are being burned up by the organization. And so what the Engage Me Business Suite is designed to do is say, wait a minute, how can you get more done, be more effective and efficient by providing tools? And what has happened, and I've been a life coach and an executive business coach for 10, 12 years. And one of the things that I've noticed in my studies and my research and practical coaching of executives and business leaders is the number one determining factor of engagement is the relationship between that supervisor and that employee. If that employee understands that all hands are on deck for a short period of time, they don't mind working 12 hours. But if it becomes an albatross around their neck and ankle, no one can survive that type of rigor when you don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. And so what the program that we're talking about, the Engage Me Business Suite, is all about how do we provide tools at the executive level? How do we provide strategies? So think of it this way. At the executive level, it's all about strategy. It's all about what should we be doing as an organization. When we talk about Engage Me Forward, we're talking about what are the tactical applications. It's the how do you do it. And then we talk about the Engage Me Back for the employee, is reminding them of the why. Why did you join this organization? So think about it. You have the what, the how, and the why. When people understand the why to what it is that they are doing, it provides them a sense of significance because they don't see themselves as just a piece of a puzzle, but they see themselves as a true partner helping to drive the engine and not just a spoke on the wheel. Because if I just see myself as a spoke in the wheel, then if there's nothing that excites me. But if I see myself as being in the control tower, having a decision, being able to contribute in the direction of this vehicle called the organization, now I'm excited. I feel significant. I feel that I am a contributing member of the organization. And this is the essence of what the Engage Me Business Suite is designed to do, is to help executives understand the what, the managers to implement the how, and employees to remember the why.
Awesome. So nuts and bolts, what are the overarching benefits that a company gets when they hire you and bring the Engage Me system into their organization?
Let me share with you, there are 5 major benefits to adapting or adopting this program, this Engage Me Business Suite program in your organization. Number one, it gives you clarity in the direction that your organization is currently moving in, how to self-correct, and how to re-engage from the top down throughout the organization. It's not enough just that the leaders are engaged, but also mid-managers and also employees. So number one, it provides clarity and understanding what moves the dial when it comes through to engagement. So that's number one. Second benefit is easy. We're talking about 7 minutes a day actions. 7 minutes. What can you do within 7 minutes? And let me give you two strategies. Number one is asking employees, what is it about this job that excites you? And what is it about the job that deflates you? That's very important. Most employees, I never even ask that question. What we say to them is, well, I hired you, I need you to do this. But if we ever stop to say, what is it about the job that excites you, that causes you to want to come to work? The flip side of that, what is it that deflates you? What is it about your job or the environment that causes you to say, wow, if I could sleep in, I would. If I could check out other than mentally, but physically check out, I would. So that's number two. The third, and perhaps one of the most profound benefits of this, is that it allows everyone to take a holistic approach. It's not just a top down, but it's a collective attempt that everyone has buy-in. You see, the problem with most engagement programs, they're top heavy. We spend a lot of time saying, well, if we only get the supervisors engaged, then it would trickle down to the employees. Or we assume that the managers and the executives are engaged, and we just apply it to the employees through some type of survey, engagement survey. And we say, well, you guys need to be more engaged. And the problem is, how can you expect the employees to be engaged when they have a supervisor that's either burned up or has burned out or actively disengaged him or herself? And so, it's a holistic approach to engagement. The fourth, I'm sorry.
No, please keep going.
The fourth benefit of this is it allows the organization to breathe. And what do I mean by it allows the organization to breathe? It allows the organization to pause, look. If you notice, these are directional. To look up, where are we heading? To look side to side. Are we moving? Are we retreating or are we moving forward? If a person has left, why did they leave? What do we need to do to bring customers back? Especially look at this way as well. What do we need to do to bring employees that maybe we laid off or maybe we furloughed? And they're looking at other options. What do we need to do to bring them back? So it allows you to take this panoramic view to really analyze what's going on and where do we need to make correction by asking three questions. What is it that we are doing well? What is it? There has to be something that we're doing good. Continue doing that. Where did the breakdown occur? It didn't just happen with COVID. COVID was the linchpin, but there probably were other triggers that we weren't recognizing, either because people felt like, well, this is the best job in town. I don't have any options. That ship has sailed. I was having breakfast this morning with an executive, sales executive. They have 300 openings. I was talking to someone else. They have 1,015 openings. And they keep thinking the issue is money. Money is a short term. But the question they're not asking, do people even want to work for us? Even if we pay $100 an hour, would this be an environment that people would want to work at? And oftentimes we've not done that deep dive analysis to say, what is it about the organization that makes it attractive to want to work here? What is it? So number one, the environment. Have we created a work environment that is engaging? Number two, do we have supervisors and leaders that are engaged? The third part of that is, are we moving in a direction that causes people to get excited because we have a vision, or are we just rehashing what was in the past? Well, we've always done it this way. We are a traditional company. That ship again has sailed. What worked 16 months ago, 18 months ago, even 6 months ago, this is the new now. This is the new, okay? It used to be, well, people couldn't work remotely because they would be goofing off at home. Every study has shown those that are working remotely, guess what? Productivity went up. Relationships for a lot of people got better because they were like, wait a minute, I don't have to worry about a lot of the other stuff like rushing through town to get home and dealing with crazy people and road rage, okay? So on one hand, this has opened up our eyes to this new normal that people can't be productive working from home. On the other hand, you have individuals say, but wait a minute, I need that connection. And so it's again looking at what has worked, what hasn't worked, and how do we create this new normal that benefits both the employee as well as the employer. So it's no longer just the employer being at the forefront of driving the vehicle. Now the employee is saying, well, you may have the steering wheel, but I got the brakes.
Awesome. And so all good programs, for them to be effective, of course, you have to have the corporate buy-in, but they're really not terribly effective unless you also have the employee buy-in. So talk a little bit about the benefit to the individual employee with this program and why you're certain that corporations will get an enormous amount of employee buy-in once they engage in the program.
Yes, excellent question. And that actually ties into the fifth benefit overall of this program is that it is a program that allows each person within the organization to have a sense of ownership, to re-engage, to have a sense of pride, that they have a voice. So the fifth one is giving everyone within the organization a voice, which ties into what are the benefits, the three major benefits for the individual. Number one, I have a voice. My voice matters. Number two, listening to me. Before they didn't hear me. Now that they're listening, now that they hear you, now you are able to be heard. An organization is now listening for the first time to employees saying, what do you need to work for us? Before it was, look, either take the job or leave it. There's 10 people waiting at the door. That's over with. Now it's an employee's market. The employer is empowered to say, what can you do for me? What do you have for me? And just saying we got good benefits ain't enough. Just saying that we are the number one leader in sales isn't cutting it. Because what the employee is looking for is a voice. They're looking to be heard, but also they're looking for a place to grow. When employees have an environment that nurtures growth, that creates bench strength, it's also a benefit for the organization. How many organizations have moved away from growing their own bench strength? Because before we just simply thought, well, you know what? If so-and-so doesn't work out, get rid of them and we'll hire someone else. Now, employers are saying, you know, maybe we need to spend a little bit more time in training. Maybe we need to spend a little bit more time in listening to our employees. What are the concerns that our employees, what makes us the best in our industry? From the employee standpoint, because the other part or is a benefit as well as look at the pros and cons. Employees are very vocal now. They're, they're making comments in Glassdoor and Indeed and all over social media that, listen, I used to work at this place. You don't want to work there. They treat their employees like worse than slaves. How do you reverse that? And this is what this program is designed to do, is to stop the bleed. If you're bleeding out, number one, you got to stop the bleed. You got to put a tourniquet on it, right? Number two is to apply the correct techniques and procedures that allows the organization to heal. See, here's perhaps the greatest benefit overall for both employee and the organization. It's designed to allow organizations to heal. The mistake that a lot of organizations make, they're bleeding and they just start replacing people. But you don't know why you're bleeding because you haven't stopped to say, what is cutting people so deep that they're leaving us? And so what we're having is a zero-sum game, because for every one person we lose, we hire another person, then we lose that. It's just this revolving door. And I was looking at one organization, they have literally turned over their entire staff 2.5 times within the last 18 months, because all they're focusing in on is get a body in here, get a body in here. And there's no training, there's no coaching, and people are frustrated. That frustration is spilling out on the new person who just showed up. Tempers are flaring because the organization hasn't been allowed to heal. And part of what the Engage Me Business Suite is designed to do is to allow the healing. It's what I call healing while you still fight. And think of it this way. I'm a former kickboxer, martial artist. There are times you're going to get hit. All industry have been hit. Some have been knocked down to their knees and some felt like they've been knocked out. You have to stop, get your bearings, but even though you might be hurting, you still engage in the fight. And for a lot of organizations, it is a fight for their organization's life. And so I'm not saying you need to heal and go on a retreat. No, what I'm saying is, yes, you may hurt. You may have hurt others, but you still have to engage, apologize, self-correct, but stay in the fight. And I believe that our job is to be like the cut man or the cut woman. Yes, you've been hurt. Here's a Band-Aid. Get back in the fight. Here's some coaching to let you know when to duck, when to dodge, when to bob, when to weave, so that you can win and be victorious as an organization, and that your people are victorious as well.
I love it. Thank you so much, Lyman. I have become very familiar with the very specific modalities in this program, what it offers, how it's being measured. There's a very scientific approach to what Lyman's created. And I would urge any organization that's having an issue with their employee turnover, or even a startup that wants to make sure they're doing it right, to please reach out to Lyman. Lyman, what's the best way for people to reach you?
The best way to reach me is real simple. Lyman, LYMAN360.com. Lyman360.com. And all of my information, you can book a call, won't cost you a dime. We can chit chat. Also, I'm on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. But the best way is just simply www.lyman360.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lyman, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Where's my record? Here we go.